welcome to another episode of Realistically Random. So, we've been covering the Bradley Coleman murder retrial. He was killed in 2022 at a quick trip in Georgia during a botched carjacking. Okay, I do have videos on that already. If you want to recap on that, I believe this is day 4 or 5. Let's see. Let's get into it. Oh, it says death was not even supposed to be the outcome. Retrial continues in case of father murdered at Quick Trip. And those are the three guys. That's one of their lawyers. Let's see. So this was Friday. Okay. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta News First. The retrial for the murder of Gwinnett County father and coach resumed Friday. Okay. So I believe this is day 4. After multiple winter weather delays, the jury returned to the courtroom as the state continued to present its case against defendants Josiah Hewley, David Booker, and Miles Collins. The 3 men accused in Bradley Coleman's 2022 death were initially tried in 2023, but the case ended in a mistrial. And it was because of something the prosecution said, and the judge was like, the jury can't unhear that, and she declared a mistrial. I believe it was on the 3rd day. The 3 are accused of trying to carjack Coleman as he put air in his tires at a Peachtree Corners quick trip, leading to his death. It was like a tussle regarding the car, and yeah, and he was shot and killed. Detective Alan Harrison with the Gwinnett County Police Department testified that he responded to the scene and saw Coleman with a gunshot wound to the head.
My name is Alan Harrison. I was contacted shortly after the homicide. I was the on-call homicide investigator that afternoon. I don't know the exact time that I was contacted, but it would have been very shortly after the uniform officers, the patrol officers responded to the scene.
When you responded to the scene, did you see anything of significance?
Yes, sir.
What'd you see?
When I responded to the scene, I saw a deceased male that was later identified as Bradley Coleman. He was lying on the ground next to a Dodge Charger. The Dodge Charger was parked at the air pump off to the side of the Quick Trip. Both the driver's side door as well as the passenger side door were open. I observed that the victim, Mr. Coleman, did not have any shoes on. There were a pair of shoes that were kind of strewn about on the ground. Looked like he had lost those shoes somehow. It wasn't clear at that time how that had occurred. Like I said, the victim was deceased. He had a gunshot wound to the left side of his head. And then there was also an empty firearm holster that was lying next to the victim. And there was another thing of note was a blue surgical or COVID mask that I observed lying in a pool of blood directly next to the victim. So when the vehicle, the Mercedes that you saw in that vehicle, the black Mercedes, when it first pulled into the gas station parking lot, prior to pulling up next to the victim's Dodge Charger at the air pumps, you'll see in the video where it pulls in, it first backs up to a gas pump, which again, based on my experience investigating slider type crimes, is very consistent with that type of behavior. They'll often pull into a parking lot like that, whether it's a gas station or a shopping center, and they may set up somewhere in a parking space or at a gas pump so that they can make observations in the parking lot and look for a potential victim. Like in this situation where it was clear that there was an individual that was driving a Dodge Charger that is commonly known to have a push-to-start ignition. And I was ultimately able to identify a black Mercedes E350 with an Illinois license plate, C as in Charlie, V as in Victor, 90487, as the suspect vehicle in this case. When I ran the license plate, I saw that it was registered to a female by the name of Wanda Fielder in Riverdale, Illinois. At that time, I started doing some additional background research on Miss Fielder to find out, see what I could find out about this particular vehicle and who it was associated with. When I started doing background research on Miss Fielder, I saw that she had 3 adult children with Atlanta area addresses. At that time, began doing more research into them to see what kind of association I could find with them with this particular vehicle. I was ultimately able to identify one of her children. I say child, but he was an adult, is an adult. His name was Lazarick Fielder. Mr. Fielder had an Instagram profile that was titled Zarek Reynolds, And on that Instagram profile, he had numerous pictures posted of luxury type vehicles that he was advertising for short and long-term rental. This particular exhibit is a screenshot of a driver's license for Miles Collins that was provided to Zarek Reynolds in order to rent the Mercedes that was used in this crime. Yes, sir, there is.
What is that?
So in this particular message, there is communication about purchasing a rental insurance policy for the vehicle that was being rented. So when I reviewed the surveillance footage, I was able to see a black Mercedes passenger car pull into the parking lot of the Texaco gas station, parked at a gas pump. Shortly after parking at the gas pump, I observed a male get out of the passenger side of the Mercedes. That male then walked into the gas station. When the male walked into the gas station, I immediately recognized the sweatshirt that that individual was wearing. It was a black sweatshirt with a large multicolored logo on it. Like I previously said, I had seen the Quick Trip footage probably 1,000 times at this point, watching it over and over, trying to figure out exactly what happened. And I recognized the large multicolored logo on that sweatshirt, and it appeared to be the same sweatshirt that one of the suspects was wearing in the Quick Trip surveillance footage, more specifically the suspect that got out of the front passenger seat of that Mercedes and ran up to the altercation that was taking place between the victim and the other suspect at that time.
Yes, sir. Which suspect?
David Booker. Okay. Yes, sir, I did.
What did you see?
I saw Mr. Booker ultimately purchased a blue surgical mask, or commonly referred to as a COVID mask, which was also consistent with the mask that was recovered at the crime scene.
You can see right there, just on top of the counter, you'll see the blue surgical COVID mask.
The exterior of the Texaco gas station. The individual in this photo was seen getting out of the driver's seat of the Mercedes after it parked at the gas pump. This is going to be based on the information that I had received to track the Mercedes ultimately to this gas station. This is consistent with the black Mercedes that was seen on the Atlanta. It's actually consistent with the cell site location information specifically that I received for the phone number associated with David Booker. The first one says, "Bruh, I gotta talk to you, bruh," followed by, "But I can't say it over the phone, bruh, some shit just happened, bruh. Bruh, I'm in the car, I'm so blows. Bruh, we gotta get out this car, wipe it down. What do you mean? More stuff like what? My bad, I was OTP, but I'm in the car. OTW home. I'm just stay out the way, it too much going on."
Thank you.
He says, "Yo, you trying to buy this gun, twin?"
Let me stop you real quick. When did he send that message?
This message was sent on July 10th, 2022 at 2:26 p.m.
When did the shooting occur?
12:38 p.m. on July 10th, 2022.
Right. Please go ahead.
The next text message from Mr. Hewley's phone is an image of a firearm. It's the same image that was recovered from the forensic examination of his phone, the Smith & Wesson SD9 VE. There's no additional text in that message. It's just a picture of the firearm.
Just contained on the screen? This thing picture that's up there?
Yes, sir, correct.
Thank you.
And then he says he's finna sell it for 300 RN twin. And the next message says already sold it.
Thank you. You can,
One of my partners.
Okay. And who was that?
I don't even know the real name. Like,
What's his street name?
What do you call him?
Nickname?
man.
What is it? Man Man?
Man.
Okay. So you said you let Man Man use it?
Yes.
Okay. What did Man Man do with it?
He gave me 120. I realized I need the money back that I paid for it. So I had to let somebody use it.
Okay. And you don't know what he did with it after that?
No.
Okay. So tell me about what. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying I just met up with him goddamn later and got that shit back.
Okay. So tell me about what you did after you gave him the car. So you rented the car, you had it for a day, you gave it to Man Man. Tell me about your next couple days after that.
Yeah, after that, I turned it back in.
You turned it back in?
The next day,
Okay. How'd you get the car back?
I had to meet him in Covington Highway.
You met Man Man on Covington Highway?
Yes.
Was anybody with Man Man?
Yeah, some light skinned nigga. Some light skinned nigga.
Okay.
Then when you got the car, you went and returned it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where'd you return it?
I'm gonna say like Panola, I think.
Okay. Was it just you that went and returned it?
Me. And
So you got it on Thursday, you kept it for a day, and then you gave it to Man Man the next day, so that was on Friday? What time on Friday?
it was early.
One of those crowns I have here.
Okay.
But then me and some-
So here's my only issue with that. You gave the car to Man Man Friday morning. So here you are at a Texaco in Atlanta on Lindbergh Drive with the car that Friday night. I'm sorry, Saturday morning. Saturday morning at about 1:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So you still had the car. So
Saturday.
Like that Saturday, early morning, like late Friday night after midnight, early Saturday morning.
that's fine. I mean, you cannot remember it, but I'm telling
I
you.
remember wearing his outfit, but I don't remember.
Yeah. I'd say the dunks are nice. The off-whites. Yeah.
But I don't remember.
You were in the Mercedes, you were driving, okay? Because we both watched the video, okay? We saw the Mercedes pull up to the Texaco over there in Atlanta early Saturday morning after midnight, so Friday night going into Saturday. So after you're telling me that you already gave the car to this Man dude,
So what you remember with this night? What did y'all do after?
I don't know, I think we went back to Lithonia. I think. But like, I ain't gonna count, I don't remember. Right. I remember this outfit though.
Mhm.
And I remember that outfit. I don't remember exactly what happened that night. I remember going back to Lithonia though. From wherever we was at.
so you went back to Lithonia and then did what?
I don't know, I think we smoked and went to sleep. Or we fell asleep.
Okay. So when did you give this car to this Man guy then?
I can't tell you a day because I don't even remember what days this was wearing his outfit. I don't wear his outfit like 2-3 times after that.
All right. Well, so I'm telling you that was Friday night going into Saturday morning. So if you went back to Lithonia and smoked and went to sleep early Saturday morning, then that's Saturday. So what happened after that? You're saying you gave the car to this other guy, but I'm just trying to determine when that was. That's
So
all.
if you're saying we went to Lithonia, 9 times out of 10 I gave it to him after this. After when we went back to Lithonia, fell asleep, woke up, I seen him, and then I told him I had this set, and he just told him bring it back to me. And he brought it back to me.
No, sir, it was not.
In what way?
So in the interview with Mr. Collins, like he said, he gave the car to an individual that he only knew as Man, and that he wasn't at the Quick Trip that day. He had no knowledge of what I was talking about at the Quick Trip, that he was at his house in Lithonia off of Covington Highway. However, when we examined the cell site location information from Mr. Collins' phone, I was able to, and excuse me, I'm going to review just a few of my notes here so I make sure I get these times and dates right. On July 10th, 2022, which was the day of the homicide, Mr. Collins received a phone call at 11:23 a.m., and the cell site location information for that phone call showed that Mr. Collins' phone was in the area of Peachtree Corners, in the area of the Quick Trip at 5255 Peachtree Parkway. And the reason that that's significant is that that phone call was received, placing his phone in the area of the Quick Trip 3 minutes before that Mercedes was first captured on the flock camera pulling into the Forum Shopping Center, which specifically is not consistent with Mr. Collins' statement that he was not there that day, that he was at his house in Lithonia. So when I reviewed the forensic examination of Ms. Pledger's phone, the very first, when you go into the messages, just like I'm sure on any of your phones, you'll see the most recent text message thread. The most recent text message thread was with an individual that she had saved in her phone as Miles. She had that individual saved under the phone number 678-542-6398, which we were able to associate as being associated with Miles Collins. In the messages, the first message that I saw was, and again, I'm going to refer to my notes if that's okay, just so I get this right. July 10th, 2022 at 12:54 p.m., Collins sent a message to Pledger that read, "Can you try to hurry up? I got to turn this car in." Collins then sent another message at 1:04 p.m. that read, "Turnberry Place, Lithonia." And at 1:32 p.m., Collins sent a message that said, "Okay, and this is my exact location." And at that time, Collins shared his Apple Maps location, which if you're familiar with that, when you're in Apple Maps, you can just share it, and it'll share your location based on the GPS data of where your phone, your device is at that time. So Collins shared his Apple Maps location, which showed him to be at Creekside Corners Apartments. That was at 1:32 p.m. And then on July 10th, 2022 at 1:04 p.m., Pledger received a text message from David Booker's phone, and that phone number was 470-342-9346, and that text message read 11109 Turnberry Place, Lithonia.
Is that address significant?
Yes, sir. That was the address for Creekside Corners Apartments Complex, and that was the apartment complex that the Mercedes was returned to Zarek Reynolds later that afternoon or shortly that after. So the passenger side door was open at some point when Mr. Coleman entered the vehicle, but again, the surveillance footage, it's not entirely clear what is going on the passenger side of the vehicle based on the angle.
Is it fair to say that based on your observations of the video that Mr. Coleman did not enter the vehicle or open the passenger side door until the car had actually moved?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So the car was in the process of pulling away apparently before Mr. Coleman knew what was happening, correct?
Based on the video, it appeared that the vehicle, and I say the vehicle, the Dodge Charger started to back up. Once it struck the BMW behind it, that's when I could see the altercation taking place inside the vehicle. As far as exactly which moment Mr. Coleman entered the vehicle, whether it was after it struck the Mercedes or if he, obviously I don't know what Mr. Coleman observed. I don't know if Mr. Coleman noticed that the vehicle had begun moving prior to it striking the Mercedes. I just know that after the Dodge Charger struck the Mercedes, at that point I was able to see an altercation taking place inside the vehicle.
And just so we're clear, the Dodge Charger never struck the Mercedes, did it?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. The BMW. It struck the BMW.
Now, the evidence, it appeared that Mr. Coleman was putting air in his tires, correct?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell from looking at the video whether he was putting air on the passenger side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell whether he was putting air on the passenger side front tire or the passenger side back tire?
No, sir, I couldn't determine that.
Okay. Now, when you arrived at the scene, was the Dodge Charger still running?
I don't remember.
Do you know, based on your own investigation, whether when Mr. Coleman was putting air in the tires, whether the Charger was running or not?
I do not know if the car was running at the time he was putting air in his tires.
Now, it did have a push button start, the Dodge Charger, correct?
Yes, sir.
And a Dodge Charger is who's fooling who, a badass car, right?
That's a matter of opinion.
You're not necessarily disagreeing with that, is that a fair statement?
I'm not personally a fan of them, but like I said, it's a opinion.
And there's something called, you see Dodge ads on occasion, and there are a couple, there's one ad, I haven't seen it in a while, but there's two Yahoos talking about a Dodge having a Hemi, whatever on earth a Hemi is. Do you know whether this Dodge Charger had a Hemi?
I don't remember the specific engine that was in this vehicle, no.
Do you know whether this particular vehicle would have caused, or would have resulted in a noise being generated when you pushed the button to start the car?
When you say, would it generate
To start the car, to ignite the car's gonna make a noise, right?
Yeah, I would expect that you would hear the normal sound of an engine starting and turning over when you push the ignition.
I mean, the Dodge Charger was not a hybrid or electric vehicle, was it not?
It was not a hybrid or electric.
Okay.
Honestly, you can't tell how many people are inside the car. I made an inference based on seeing one of the suspects enter the vehicle, seeing Mr. Coleman enter the vehicle. There was nobody else on scene at the time that we arrived, so that was an assumption that I made, but you can't actually see well enough inside the vehicle to say for sure that there wasn't anybody else in the vehicle. So when I reviewed the surveillance footage, it appeared to me that he was pulled out of the vehicle. Again, that's my observation based on what I was seeing. I believe that he was pulled out of the vehicle. I understand that Mr. Hewley made a statement to the contrary of that in the interview, but if you're asking me what my opinion was based on my observations, it looked like he was pulled out of the vehicle. I don't know that I would say that he either had it in his pants outside or he had it on him when he was outside putting air in the tires, and the reason that I'm saying that is based on the statement that was provided by Mr. Hewley that when he got into the vehicle, he observed the firearm on the passenger seat of the Dodge Charger. As far as making a determination or an inference as to whether or not Mr. Coleman pulled the firearm out of the holster inside the vehicle, I don't know, because like I already said, I can't tell exactly what's going on inside the vehicle other than there's an altercation taking place. Yeah, at that time, based on what I observed, it looked like Mr. Hewley was the aggressor. Mr. Hewley was on top of Mr. Coleman. Mr. Hewley pulled an item out of his pants while standing over Mr. Coleman. He dropped it on the ground. It was actually two items, and based on that, I made an inference that one of those objects was the firearm. One of those objects was the empty holster that we recovered next to the victim, because after Mr. Hewley pulled that item out of his pants, he dropped it on the ground, he picked it up. Mr. Coleman, the victim, started trying to stand up at that point, and you can clearly see in the video, Mr. Hewley raises what I believe to be the firearm and shot Mr. Coleman in the head.
Yeah, and on the third day, or the second or third day of the trial, they did show the autopsy and autopsy photos, and you can see, yeah, it's just a very sad case. He was lying on the ground next to the Dodge Charger, and that's the car they was trying to steal. The Dodge Charger was parked at the air pump off to the side of the Quick Trip, and both the driver's side door as well as the passenger side door were open, he said. The jury also saw surveillance videos from the day of the murder. Two cars, one, a black Mercedes, approached Coleman's car. Then three suspects were seen opening Coleman's car doors trying to get him out. Detective Harrison said they identified the Mercedes as a luxury rental car that Collins and Booker allegedly booked based on text messages with the car's owner. The jury also listened to the interview Detective Harrison had with Hewley shortly after the murder. Hewley said he saw Coleman's gun in the car as he opened the driver's side door and got scared. He continued.
It's just like, I got in the car, and when I seen him get up, I tried to get out the car. But by the time when I got in the car, I seen his gun on the passenger seat. So, of course, my first instinct is I'm thinking he's gonna go for his gun. But he started grabbing me and hitting me. I didn't hit him back not one time. My whole thing was I was trying to get out the car. I was trying to leave it alone. I even told him during the middle of the incident, I'm telling him out my mouth, I put this on my child, my grandma's life, on everything I love. I'm telling him, I say, okay, get off of me. I'm finna get out your car. I'm like, get off of me. I'm finna get out your car. You got it. My bad. He's still just doing the most. It's just like, I don't know how he pushed me out the car. When he pushed me out the car, we fell. He tried to grab his gun, like I knew he was reaching for it, like, when his gun was on the floor, I knew he was going for it, like, he was going for his gun. So I'm like, okay, when he grabbed his gun, he's finna shoot me. Even though I told him, like, I know he's finna shoot me. And then, it was how it happened, like.
So what happened at that point? You dropped the gun on the ground.
The gun was in his hand. When we fell, it dropped.
Okay.
Inside the car.
When you got out of the car, what happened at that point?
The gun was on the floor when we got out of the car.
Which gun?
His gun.
Where was your gun?
In my pants.
Okay.
I never pulled it out. That's the whole point. I could have pulled the gun out inside the car and shot him or something like that. I didn't do. I wasn't trying to touch that man. I wasn't trying to do nothing like that.
I know that. I believe you. I mean, the video. I believe you. You're telling the truth about that. The video confirms it. But I'm just so. His gun was on the floor.
At what point did you put it in your hand?
His gun?
Yeah.
When I was leaving the scene or something.
So did you shot him with your gun and then you took his gun after that? Is that right?
It's like, yeah.
So once he pushed you out of the car, his gun was on the floor of the car at that point, but y'all. Okay, I'm sorry.
It was never on the floor. Okay. It was in the passenger seat the whole time. He had it on the passenger seat the whole time. He was in the passenger seat while he was parking the other side. I seen it. I didn't even touch it. But when he got up, he jumped in the car. He started hitting me, beating me up. And I'm telling him, like, you know,
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving. You got it, bro. I'm not wrong. I was trying to do the right thing at the time. Like, I was trying to leave it alone. If I was really just cold-blooded, or I would have, as soon as he put his hands on me, I would have pulled my gun out, shot him, or do anything that wasn't how it was supposed to go. The only reason the stuff happened how it happened, because I was in fear.
Okay.
I was in fear because I know he got a gun. And I'm thinking, like, I know, like, I've seen incidents like this before, like, it's one of those situations where it's like, I hate to say it like this, it was one of those situations where it's like, it's either you or him, like.
Okay.
But at the same time, the way it happened, it still wasn't supposed to happen like that. The way it was not supposed to, like, he wasn't supposed to get hit in the head, or, like, wherever he got hit at, he got hit in the head.
So you're saying you shot him, but you weren't meaning to shoot him in the head? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, he was moving towards his gun, like.
Where was the gun at that point?
On the floor. It was still on the floor.
In the car?
No, on the
ground.
In front of us.
Okay. I thought you were saying the floor of the car. I got you. That's why I was confused. Okay.
You reaching for your gun, like, like you were moving, but it's just like, I didn't aim at his head. I ain't even do nothing like that. I ain't want to kill that man. If anything, I would not want to kill him. Like, it don't take to kill somebody to get away from something like that. Like,
I'm curious, what was the conversation like in the car when y'all left for the trip?
It was quiet. I just like, I didn't mean to do it. Like, I was panicking. Like, I really was panicking because I did not mean for that to happen like that. Like, I didn't know what to think. Like, I was just like, I didn't mean to do it, bro. Like,
I believe you, man.
He continued that they fought while Coleman was in the car, and the two fell on the ground before Hughley allegedly shot him. Well, and if you've been paying attention, they have been emphasizing this, so you can kind of tell like this is where they was going to go with this. So, so when he opened the driver's side door, he got scared. Well, why you ain't close it and drive and run off? Why are you opening his driver's side door anyway? Like you were in the middle of a crime. He continued that they fought while Coleman was in the car. So Coleman was in the car and they was fighting, okay? And the two fell on the ground before Hewley allegedly shot him. And I think they're trying to say he shot him with Coleman's gun. Because Coleman's gun hasn't been found. It hasn't been retrieved. You shot him with your gun and then you took his gun after that. Is that right? Harrison asked in the footage. Yeah, Huey answered. It still wasn't supposed to happen like that. That was not even supposed to be the outcome at all. Oh, okay. So he admitted to shooting him with his gun and then took Coleman's gun. So why are we here? Why are we here if he's admitting to it? Jury will also hear from a gang investigator. Oh gosh. As the state tries to tie the three men to gang activity when the murder took place.
Yes, sir.
Jury
It's Corporal Adam Post, P-O-S-T.
Let's talk about the defendants in this case. Did you have an opportunity to research the defendants in this case?
Yes, sir.
But you never were affiliated with, like, you never were blessed in or beat in or sexed in or anything crazy in the 9 tray, right?
I mean, at a younger age, I did false claim, like, but I really realized that a lot of folks in Atlanta do that, like false claim, but not really.
What'd you false claim?
I was just false claiming blood. That's how I knew I wasn't blood for real.
Okay.
I wasn't claiming no sick or nothing like that. I just used to say I was blood, but when I got a little older, I started doing it because seeing how serious it was.
Yeah. So you didn't face any consequences for doing that? Like no one fucking G-checked you or anything?
I never really. Well, somebody said something to me about it, and that's what I left it alone.
So, is it credible that someone false claiming the bloods would not have ramifications?
Yes.
So, had Josiah Hewley false claimed the bloods, would there have been ramifications?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, when we're talking about Mr. Hewley, did you have an opportunity to review some of the photographs that Mr. Hewley got booked in on?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything of significance?
Yes, sir. So the Zone 6 tattoo, that's commonly used by just people in Atlanta to represent what police area of the city of Atlanta they came from. And then here's a $ tattoo. It's on the right side of his face. It looks a little bit faded, but to me, the top of the S in the $ looks flat like a 5, and then it comes down flat like a 5 would, and then it finishes the 5 off. Which again, 5 is a common number that the Bloods will use to represent their gang.
All right.
Mr. Hewley's middle finger, and right above the middle knuckle, he has the number 12, which is a common, nickname for police that society uses. So by it being on his middle finger, he's basically saying, fuck 12, pardon my language.
When you say the F12, when you say F12, is that common among gang members?
It's a common mindset amongst gang members, yes.
Is it to show disrespect to police officers?
Yes, and there's just general disrespect towards authority.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is that common to any particular gang?
It's common amongst a lot of gangs, but I have seen it specifically in blood literature as well. We're looking at Mr. Booker's face. We'll start in the middle. He has a dagger tattoo right between his eyes on his forehead.
Hey, can I stop you real quick? Are you familiar with 21 Savage?
Yes, sir.
Known blood member?
Yes, sir.
Got a lot of videos out there?
Yes, sir.
Does he have a tattoo just like that?
Yes, sir, he does.
All right, please continue.
We'll move on to the piercing. So on the left side of the screen, which would be Mr. Booker's right side of his face, he has a red piercing right by his eye, which again, red is commonly used by the Bloods to represent their gang. And another aspect to that as well that I didn't mention earlier is that the Bloods will commonly represent their gang either through tattoos or their colors, like a bandana, on the right side of their body. Excuse me. Next is you can see 730 and then a red heart and the letter E.
What's significant about the number 730?
So the significance of 730 is that it's the New York State Penal Code for the word insanity. And deeper significance on that, again, would be going back to the formation of the United Blood Nation in Rikers Island Prison in 1990s.
And Rikers Island for the jury is located where?
New York City.
After we see the number 730, what do we see?
A red heart.
Is that significant?
It's got the color red in it, and that would be commonly represented by the Bloods with red.
What's after the heart?
It looks like an E.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any significance to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is that like the 730 you're talking about?
Yes, sir. And in this, what you're seeing is, you can see on both the gentlemen here that the right foot is forward. Again, that's significant to the Bloods because their right foot will be presented forward. It's where they represent their gang. And then the text caption is 9-3 gangsters with a broken heart emoji, which is red. 9-3 gangsters would be a reference to the 9 Trey Gangsters, which is one of the United Blood Nation sets that I had mentioned earlier. And then there's also a red Powerade in there too, which could be his favorite color or flavor, but it's also red, and the Bloods represent with red.
Would a video like that be consistent with trying to steal a reputation?
Yes. So in this video, you'll see Mr. Booker performing a song called Red Ops, which is a song by 21 Savage, who we mentioned earlier. 21 Savage, again, who is a Blood, wrote a song called Red Ops, so it's a reference to Red being the Blood's opposition. And essentially what that song is about is committing extreme acts of violence against enemies of the Bloods. So Mr. Booker will be performing it, so to speak, to his Instagram audience, and then about 2 or 3 minutes in, I believe, is when a female comes on and they have some friendly banter back and forth that I'll explain.
Bought a brand new drop and then I put me on some drop. Young sat real street, nigga. Y'all ain't on no block. Bitch, keep your leg closed, cause all I want is top. I put them pew, 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 pew. Y'all don't call the cops. I just bought a pistol, it got 30 rounds in it.
They have a hand sign, or they'll go 2 guns up, which they'll put fingers up like this to represent their founder, Pistol Pete. Now, the extension of the finger is going to be something that a Sex, Money, Murder set known in Atlanta as 45 Worldwide, what they commonly do, and they'll put it together for a W for the Worldwide.
Slaughter Gang?
Slaughter Gang is 21 Savage's set of Sex, Money, Murder, also known as Paper, Drugs, Extortion, or 4L, or PDE. She's got red hair, and initially that's unassuming until she throws up the 9 Trey hand sign, as well as the 45 Worldwide or Sex, Money, Murder sign that I'd spoken of earlier. And Mr. Booker's about to respond with hand signs as well.
There ain't no conversation.
All right, I think you ready for the next?
To my we blazing. Now what about me, twin? I ain't roll that.
No.
Okay, you can pause. So he says, we blazing. That's a reference to Sex, Money, Murder will say that they are Blazing Billies. It's just kind of like a nickname that they go by. So he's saying we blazing, and then he says I ain't Rolac. And they're about to continue their banter about the two. Just said Billy Gang shit. 9 Trey will refer to themselves as Billy Badass or Billy Gang. So it's just a nickname that 9 Trey has for themselves. And then he says, don't crab on me. So Bloods will commonly refer to their rivals, the Crips, as crabs. It's a derogatory term to the Crips. So when he's saying to her, "Don't crab on me," it's basically saying, "Hey, don't be a Crip. Like, don't do that to me." Type. So he says, "It's a Billy world. You're just living in it." So the significance of that is that Omar Porte, the founder of the Nine Trey Gangsters, and ultimately Nine Trey was who founded the United Blood Nation and brought the other 4 sets in. And Sex, Money, Murder was one of the sets. So by him saying, "It's a Billy world, you're just living in it," it's essentially saying, how I understand it is, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for us type thing.
Nigga. 4-5 ways. Nigga already know it, Blaze.
You can pause.
No cap.
Who paid?
So there she says it all, Blaze and Billy's only. It sounds like 4 or 5 ways, again, reference to 45 worldwide, which is the Sex, Money, Murder set. And she's throwing up the hand signs all while doing that.
And Sex, Money, Murder and Nine Trey, are they cooperative games?
Yes, and I think this video does a really excellent job of showing the friendly banter between the two. As you can see, they're kind of just poking fun at each other more or less and having a friendly conversation about who's better, essentially.
Y'all nigga though.
Y'all running this shit. We running it. It's a Blazers world. Nigga know what's going on with it.
Hey, just remember, it's always first set, worst set. Just remember.
Oh my God. I'm so petty.
What?
I'm so Rolex, like.
Y'all, by the time you do that, y'all.
I'm so petty. Like, oh my mama, nigga, oh gang, I'm so petty, like.
Come on, man, y'all been done changed.
Billy gang shit. Yeah, we were Billy gang shit. But get what? I never get them street laws. Nigga, mind your business, get money, and shut the fuck up, nigga. Fuck you, Tom.
If you look at the top with the account name, it'll be the top left. It's a broken child .5. The 5 again is significant because the Bloods will commonly use the number 5 to represent their gang. So if we look at the actual picture, you'll see Mr. Booker on the left, and he's got his 2 hands together. It's like a bull hand sign. It could be a reference to the Chicago Bulls, like I mentioned earlier. And then the person on the right, I don't know who that is. He is displaying the Nine Trey hand sign on his right hand. And then the caption, if you look at it, contains Billy to death. Again, Nine Trey will refer to themselves as Billy Badass. So he's basically saying he's Nine Trey till death. And then the hashtags are hashtag Nine Trey G's up, and then hashtag 730 PRG Broken Heart with an E.
Is hashtag Nine Trey, is that affiliated with a particular game?
It'd be Nine Trey,
Okay.
the Bloods.
What's that?
It could just be like putting Nine Trey up. It could also just be an abbreviation for Guns Up, which Sex, Money, Murder would use, but it's kind of hard to tell without more context, so it could be either one. Was a picture I found on, again, Mr. Booker's Instagram. So he's there on the right side of the screen. He's looking down at the Nine Trey hand sign that he's making. He's got his right foot forward, which I explained earlier. He's got the red heart on the left side of the screen, parallel to his arm there.
Right here?
Yep. And then at the bottom, it looks like a memorial to somebody that was killed. It's not uncommon to see pictures like this in gang investigations. This is the picture that actually led me to Mr. Booker's Instagram account. Someone had screenshotted it and then shared it to their own profile, which is how I found the page. So it was posted after Mr. Booker's arrest for this case. In it, you can see again he's displaying the Nine Trey hand sign with the caption, "See y'all soon." His right foot will be forward as well, if you were to scroll down. And again, I find it significant that the picture posted is one displaying a Nine Trey hand sign after this incident. Just to read some of it, it says, for their oath, as I lock the bees with 3 fingers spread, I shall know my purpose as a blazer. I will abide by the 45 movement and respect and honor all hierarchy that will guide me on my journey. Through thick and thin, pain and joy, my guns will blaze for eternity, and I will not use thy GF name in vain, Pete's child. The pledge, I pledge my life as a blazer to walk like Pete until my time is upon me. I'm not sure.
Okay. You talk about a 2024 study. The 2024 study that determined that 64 to 65% of all violent crime was committed by gang members. Who funded that study? Who was that study done by?
That was through the Georgia Gang Investigators Association.
Have they identified the factors that lead to young people being at risk for joining a gang?
So in the media release that I have from the results of the study, it just mentions youth involvement in gang activity being concerning, and then they attribute that to the glamorization of criminal street gang lifestyle.
Via rap.
It doesn't specify rap, but it just says the glamorization of criminal street gang lifestyle, and then also lacking some youth programs and things like that.
Okay, you look at the downloads of a number of folks that have been identified as gang members in different investigations. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen any gospel on there? People rapping gospel?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them doing any sort of rap in the jazz or anything like that?
Not often, if I have.
Okay, good. So when we talk about 21 Savage, when we talk about 50 Cent, we talking about gangster rap being promoted
Yes.
by gangs. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, since obviously we want to get all crime down, has the Georgia Gang Investigation Association, have they said, listen, when we see that there's no father and that there's an income less than $5,000 and there's less than 5 books in the home and nobody has gotten their high school diploma, these are the things that we can look at and say, this child here at 5 and 6 is at risk. Have they identified the at-risk things in order to minimize the number of people that might be persuaded to join a gang?
Not in the information that I have.
Okay. And that organization has been around how long?
Since 1998.
With a number of sex, money, murder gang members that have been identified as sex, money, murder gang members. Does that make me an associate?
You said you drink with them once a week?
Yeah, just drink with them once a week. Every Thursday, like clockwork, I'm here with these 12, 15 sex, money, murder gang members, and we drink. Sometimes they buy, sometimes I buy. You know, we're generous like that.
Yeah, I'd say you're associated. You're regularly meeting with them and partaking in a social activity. You're associated with them.
And I'm gonna give all the hand signs. I'm not gonna do any crime. I'm just gonna post videos. Can I increase my status in the gang just by posting videos?
I don't think just by posting videos. Eventually, you would need to start putting in work, as I said, or committing some crimes to provide for the gang.
No, sir. You're the expert. I'm telling you, she's an absolute menace. She hasn't been in custody for 2 years. She always carries 2 guns. She likes robbing trains.
So
I don't walk into the train. I don't walk into the car she's in. I don't hold any guns. I don't open up the satchel. I'm in the other car providing lookout. It's just me and her. I want to know if she's doing this for 2 years. She's robbing the trains once a week. Does my status increase just by being with her? Just being a lookout, not touching any guns, not doing any harm, actual harm to anybody.
So based on my experience, if it was 2 years of you just sitting outside looking, getaway driver type thing, I would expect that after that amount of time or a period of time, there may be an expectation for you to also participate and step up your game, so to speak.
Same questions about sex, money, and murder. Who is the national leader of that gang?
I'm not sure.
Who is the local leader of that gang?
I'm not sure.
I think I wrote it down. That would have been from October 2021 to January in 2023. How many times was the head of the gang actually found?
Off the top of my head, I can think of 2. They're a Crip, they're a Blood, they're a whatever.
Of course not. Simply because someone is wearing red or blue clothing doesn't make them a gang member, does it?
Correct.
You indicated that the number 12 on my client's middle finger is basically a big disrespect toward cops.
Yes.
Would that be fair? And that is not necessarily gang specific. Would that also be a fair statement?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And just because you hang around with someone does not in and of itself mean that you adhere to their beliefs or their positions. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
That he was the passenger in a vehicle where the driver took off before the police officers put on their blue lights. You didn't know that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't know that that vehicle drove like a bat out of hell through school zones that I think it hit somebody and crashed the vehicle. You didn't know that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So when you saw, you just looked at the conviction that said theft by receiving motor vehicle, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware in your expertise that sometimes young men end up pleading guilty so that they can get out of jail whether they did the offense or not? Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Jury selection for the retrial began on January 13th, and several witnesses have testified in front of the jurors. I thank God that He has graced us to go through the process. I don't have anybody, but I do want them to pay for what they did. Oh, she said, I don't hate anybody. Our son, Venetia Coleman, the victim mother, previously told in news first. This is a developing story. Check back from it. Right. So is he saying, yeah, it still wasn't supposed to happen like that? Isn't that kind of admitting to it? So what? They pled not guilty? Okay, well, we will journey on. It doesn't say when they're going to resume. I'm assuming it's going to be Monday. They're going to resume with I believe day 5 of the trial. And we'll be back here to recap. Very sad case. This man had to lose his life over a carjacking of a Dodge Charger. Carjacking of any kind is horrible. But a Dodge Charger, I mean, I guess, any car is good as long as you have wheels. But you would just think that if you're going to carjack somebody, you're going to carjack somebody for something good. A Dodge Charger? This man had lost his life because you were trying to take his Dodge Charger. Just a mess. It's senseless. Very senseless. Until next time, see you on the next video. Bye.